Michelle begin.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Art.
I'm Tim.
Hey Tim. What brings you in today?
So I just, wanted to have a conversation about some things that have been going on that kind of came to light to me the other day that I find really disturbing. So I went to a seminar held by Equality Florida, and they had a speaker who had gone through her whole entire transition process, and she told the story of her transitioning. And as terrible as it was, black market drugs, having to go into sex work to get, not drugs, but hormones, having to go into sex work to get that because she's fired from her job, she's fired from her home, finally finds herself in an advocacy role and works her way up, and now she's working for transgender rights with Equality Florida. But the thing that took it away from me the most was how backwards we're going with individual rights. In the state of Florida, especially, again, these are my own personal opinions, but from fact that I heard, of course I didn't hear another side, but we seem to be taking away rights of people as we progress. Now, I went through, coming out in the 90s, sitting there having conversations with friends. Oh, do you think we'll ever get married? Oh, do you think we'll ever be able to have kids? Doing that whole conversation. And then now sitting here looking at this going, look, now we have marriage rights, we have equality. We fought the ballots, we sent the letters in, we did all the things that we had to do. We, petitioned for adoption rights and all those things. And now here it is, there's just another group. And I'm sure it's more than one group of people, but this is just what kind of focused in on me. I mean, there's legislation going through now in the state of Florida where they're going to start reversing a lot of the rights that people have. They've already taken away the rights of trans children to, play in sports. Like if it's a trans girl, she can't play in the boys' leagues.
Right.
Same way with vice versa. And at that point, it's like you wonder, kids are going through so many stuff. And yes, I believe children can probably identify as what sex they are. But I think that at the end of the day, it's just like children playing a game. Why are we getting involved in that? Should be a school parent thing. So, and I just see that, out of looking at a map where there's no protections against people that are gay, lesbian, trans community. It's now back in my day, it was called the LGB community, but now it's the LGBT plus community, Q plus. So it's like, Pasco County has no protections for anybody. You can be thrown out of your house because you're gay or lesbian or you're transgender or you just choose to sleep with the same sex or however it is. I mean, it's just crazy that, this day and age we're living in something like this, that this can happen, Again, this is something that just like recently kind of lit a spark in me to try and understand and wrap my head around because I can't really believe that this is going on.
Okay.
We've got to be really vocal. We've got to get involved, and I'm saying we, the community, and everybody else, any allies that we have that understand our rights and understand that we've been through or who want to support us. I mean, doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're Republican, whether you're Democratic, whether you're independent, whatever it is, it's just boils down to simple basic rights.
Okay.
So
let me want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly.
mm-hmm.
It's basically like the atmosphere of the state is the politics with the attack on LGBTQ rights again.
Yeah.
It's kind of just giving you some anxiety.
It does, because, and it's not just the state, it's the state of Florida, it's actually, it goes on beyond the state of Florida. I'm just focusing in Florida because that's where I live and that's where I'm present right now. But, it's just amazing to me that, that there's people out there that are trying to make legislature on things that don't necessarily affect them. I could go back to Roe v. Wade, abortion rights. As me, as a 57-year-old white male who may have some political power, how can I tell a woman what she needs to do with her life?
Yeah.
Having friends that have gotten pregnant and who have had their careers suffered because of it. Single moms and, you hear the boys club and things like that. Oh, she'll never be the same and things like that. we've heard all that stuff, and it's like, so now you have these politicians saying, you know, oh, you have to get rid of it, you can't terminate the baby. It's like, well, if this person is career-minded, this is a choice of hers, it's a problem with her, it's her body. And again, the same thing with trans people. They identify, I mean, it's amazing how it goes beyond what you identify with. It's like how you feel, whether you present as a male or you present as a female, whether you have, you know, gay tendencies or you have, you know, straight tendencies as you transition from a female to a male and you prefer females. You know, it's so complex, you know, and it's easier to kind of laugh and joke about it and go, well, why can't you just be a lesbian? It's like, because that's not what I'm inside. So, you know, so anyway, kind of getting off the topic a little bit, but it's like, these are things that are going on in people's personal lives. These are things that are going on in personal families, and it should be addressed at that level. Again, like with the children in schools and not being able to participate in athletics, which we all know athletics are great. They teach leadership, they teach, you know, process, they teach policy pretty much, you know, rules and what not to break and what to break. So I think that, you know, banning a group of kids because they can't do this and they have to sit on the sideline just because they weren't, you know, born the right sex is not fair. And now we have a bunch of people up in Tallahassee that are saying, yep, sorry, can't do it. You know?
So I'm hearing a lot that, you know, that this is happening to this group, but of course you're part of that group.
Right.
So, how is it making you feel? I mean, are you having any kind of, like they're attacking you kind of thing?
I don't feel they're attacking me yet. I think it's starting. I think it's, you know, they're slow, because when you look at the evolution of gay rights, even though Marsha P. Mason was, you know, the transvestite or transgender woman in New York who started the Stonewall riots. She's the one that threw the shoe at the policeman and got everybody pissed off. Now that, you know, that kind of got buried because two of the biggest advocates for gay rights back in the 70s in New York City were two trans women. But it's, you know, Stonewall is now a gay thing. It's like, you know, and it's so basically the evolution went like the gay men went through this and the lesbian community. And it's like we all kind of rode this wave after each other. And trans started coming to the forefront, and trans started going, you know, getting, you know, asking for rights to bathroom rights and have their own safe spaces to do what they need to do. And now it looks like it's attacking that. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to start trying to go after marriage? Are they going to try and have to go after, you know, adoption? Are they going to have to go back, you know, after you, it's illegal, it's a crime, you'll go to jail for, you know, dating a man. You know, an interesting conversation I had with my mother. She told me, we were having a conversation, and I said to her, because she asked me for the first time, and I've been out for 30 years, but there's now the open dialogue about it. She asked me if a place was a gay bar.
Okay. And
I said, well, the really neat thing about Tampa is there's really no gay bar. Everybody just kind of mingles in, and, you know, you can see a rainbow flag on a door, and, you know, it's a safe space, you can go be who you want to be. Yes, we have one or two here in town, but for the most part, it's a pretty open and inclusive community in Tampa. So she started asking me these things, and she started, you know, asking some questions, very basic. And, but I said to her, I said, Mom, you know, you in the 50s and 60s, you were in Manhattan, New York City, you were running around, you were, you know, ran with the theater group, and surely you were exposed to the gay community, and surely you knew drag queens, because we were at a restaurant that I told her had a drag show in it. I said, surely you knew, you know, drag queens, surely you had friends. And she goes, oh yeah, but it was different back then. She goes, you'd go to a party and it was evenly split, men to women. Whether it was two women together would go to the party with two male friends, so if the police raided the place, they would all swap up and pair up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to go back to that. I mean, it's just, you know, I think, and this is just me, and I think there are some people starting to cry that, you know, the opposite of, you know, what happened on January the 6th is there's a lot of people that think our democracy is being in jeopardy now because we're being told what we can and cannot do more. My opinion.
That actually brings up a question of mine, which is you probably 30 years ago you came out.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff might be bringing up some of those emotions from 30 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
And some fear and whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine why not. I was just at the Women's March for abortion, reproductive rights.
Right.
A couple of weeks back, and
is that the proper name? I'm learning all these things now. Back in my day, it was abortion rights.
yeah, I got called out for that.
Okay.
because I said, instead of saying pro-choice, I said pro-abortion, which was,
Yeah.
my teacher let me have it for that one.
Well, good.
But
Well,
yeah,
now we both learned something.
You got it.
Pro-choice and reproductive rights. Okay.
Reproductive rights, yep. And it was the same kind of strain, you know, they went through 50 years ago, all the same stuff, Roe v. Wade, you mentioned it, and now they're right back to square one, almost.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, with exceptions, but.
And the number of women that during the time period before Roe v. Wade and before, the number of women that died because they went to back alley doctors, and the number of women that, you know, had complications and would go further on in their life and then maybe want to have child, but because they went to someone less skilled to get a procedure done because, you know, they may not be able to. You know, it's and the same thing going with, and I touched briefly on it, and it's only touched briefly because of listening to Nicole speak. You know, the black market. You know, having to go to black market drugs, hormone drugs.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and in order to pay for that, and you're going to someone you meet on the street, and she told the story of a friend of hers who was accidentally given testosterone. So here's this person who is identifying as female, trying to present as female, taking testosterone for 6 months, getting, you know, deeper voice, getting more facial hair, muscles thickening, whereas her friend who's doing the same thing is actually losing muscle mass and who's getting more feminine and, you know, developing breasts and things like that. And it just it just totally threw this person and just wrecked her for 6 months.
Yeah, the complete opposite effect.
Yeah, you're trying to do this, and so anyway, they found out, and that's when kind of the light went off because there was no education to her. I mean, I think there is more now, but there was no education to her about what you need to do. I mean, we're getting ready to pass a law in the state of Florida. If a doctor works with a child and gives them hormone treatments or starts working the process with a child under 18 with the parents, he can lose his license, go to jail.
Okay.
You know, that's
not much different than Texas.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think we want to be that way. I mean, Florida's such an all-inclusive state, always has been, but it's getting scary.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it is really pretty scary. But, you know, it's just, like I said, I have just, you know, skimmed across the surface after the seminar yesterday and being in the community, but not being really involved with the trans community as much, because it's kind of new to me. Which sounds really strange. I know that they were there. I know that there was trans people. I know that, you know, I'm aware of them, but I just kind of thought they piggybacked off of us. You know, we're all got rights now. Oh, we can all get married. And I knew that theirs was a little special situation, but I mean, it just what they have to do to live their true selves. I mean, the process to get the psychological letters in order for them to get their hormones, in order for to get to them their, you know, gender reassignment surgery, to get their driver's license changed, their birth certificate changed.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, it's something I saw working with the female culture, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
the female groups with again with the abortion thing, and it was the fact that people, they got so far.
Mm-hmm.
They got this, and this. You know, almost equal pay, almost this, almost that. That at that point in time, it fractures, like you mentioned. You talked about how one group, you know, got this, the other group didn't get this, and then it's almost like we washed over it.
yeah.
So, you know, women are great. Look how far they've come. Well, yeah, but you didn't get that last 20% of the way.
Right.
I mean, oh, look, gay rights. Look how far you've come. Yeah, but you forgot this person, this
Right.
person, and this person, and now, you know, I understand it can be very frustrating.
It's frustrating and it's a little scary. I mean, you know, how is it going to impact my life? I don't know if it will ever really get as far as where we were back in the, you know, the mid 80s, where we had no rights, where, you know, we were the scourge of the earth with AIDS and HIV, or we were criminalized back in the 60s and 70s. And, you know, it's like, do I think we'll ever get that far back? I don't think so,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Because you see them dismantling things all the time.
So I'm curious, as these things, if these things they progress, better or worse, what kind of coping mechanisms do you think you'll have?
I think my coping mechanism for this would probably do what I'm doing now. I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm looking into organizations that maybe I can help in. You know, I've never really been a sidelines kind of guy.